call the meeting to order and ask you all to stand as we pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. Lisa, would you please read the opening statement and call the roll?
This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with the Senator Bynum and Fair Open Public Meetings Act, the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority set its annual meeting schedule for August 2018 through July 2019, setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting to the Secretary of State's office in Trenton, New Jersey, and the office of the Clerk of Atlantic City. The notice was published in the Press of Atlantic City, the Camden Courier Post, and the New York Star Ledger on July 23rd, 2018, and July 24th, 2018. Members of the press will be permitted to take photographs at today's meeting, providing that it is done in a manner which is not distracting to the authority, nor interferes with the public's right to observe the meeting. Any member of the public who wishes to address the authority regarding items to be presented to the board today will be given the opportunity to do so. Comments regarding any issues that do not appear on today's agenda will be taken during the public comment portion at the end of the meeting. We ask that members of the public who address the board stand and state their name and address for the record each time they speak on an issue. It is also requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes per issue. Lodia Butler.
Present.
Deborah DiLorenzo. Ed Gant.
Here.
Mark D'Antonio.
Here.
Mayor Frank Gilliam.
Here.
Michael Hanlon.
Here.
Gary Hill.
Here.
Howard Kyle.
Here.
William Mullen.
Here.
Kevin Ortzman. Dave Closis.
Here.
Dave Reba for the State Attorney General.
Here.
Maureen Hassett for the State Treasurer.
Here.
Robert Long for the DCA Commission.
Good afternoon.
Vice Chairman Richard Colson.
Here.
Chairman Robert Mulcahy.
Here. Is Mo the only one on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. Mo, thanks for being on the phone. The next item on the agenda is the ratification of the minutes of the April 16th, 2019 meeting. I assume you've read them. Does anybody have any changes or corrections they wish to offer? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept them and place them on file.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few things to report on. One item that we've been working on recently, it's a combination of the city and their code enforcement and also Lance and his group here at CRDA, and that is aggressively enforcing code at rooming houses. It's starting to bear some fruit. I'll give you some examples. A couple rooming houses that are pending conversion to a duplex, 112 Ocean and 130 Ocean. Some other rooming houses that are converted to apartments, 23 South California, 140 Bellevue, 32 South Florida, and pending conversion to apartments, 163 Westminster and 30 South Florida. I would attribute this success to the hard work on the folks here and also at the city, again, primarily in code enforcement, but also the fire department as well. We hosted the 22nd Annual Atlantic City Host Awards. We had close to 700 in attendance. Gave out $9,000 in scholarships, and the Spirit of Hospitality Award was given to a local media personality that many people already know, Whitney Owen. Also today, with the mayor and council president Marty Smalls, along with other city officials and Jim Johnson, we announced the start of the CRDA funded neighborhood community officers. They are starting today. They're going to go out in twos to start in each of the wards, and then they're going to scale back to one at a time each of the wards. They're going to scale up to a full 16-hour day coverage.
Kevin Ortzman
has joined the conference.
And this is, again, a combination of CRDA funding, working with the city to make the tourism district and other parts of Atlantic City safer for its visitors and its residents. The nice thing about these officers are they're not gonna be in police cars. They're gonna be out walking a beat. They're gonna be interacting with the small business owners, with residents. They are not going to be responding to 911 calls. They are gonna be proactively engaging with the public. These officers are in addition to what currently exists on the police department. And this is also in addition to the 45 Class 2 police officers that CRDA funds for policing in the tourism district. And lastly, yesterday, or two more things. Yesterday, and Chairman Mulcahy was here, for the first time, we had, for the first time ever, I'm told, we had the governor of the state of New Jersey come to CRDA offices, meet with the employees, shake hands, take pictures, spent some real quality time explaining the importance of Atlantic City and what we are doing as an organization to fulfill his agenda here, along with giving an update to the employees of his vision of New Jersey as a whole. It was nice to see him take some time out. We met in this building, and then he also went over to our SID warehouse, where it was about 85 degrees inside, but he met with all of them as well. Shook hands, took pictures with them individually. So it was much appreciated by the employees. It's always nice to have the governor come by, always a good morale boost. And lastly, I just wanted to point out a very favorable editorial from the Press of Atlantic City regarding the closing of the Welcome Center out on the expressway. We collapse those services now to make them more efficient, more effective at Boardwalk Hall. And I think one of the standout lines in their editorial is, and this is from them, shutting the center is a good sign for the city's recovery. As anyone in business knows, success is not only figuring out how to do things better, it's also having the courage and insight to quit doing them worse. So we are going to continue to find more efficiencies and continue to operate more effectively on behalf of the city of Atlantic City. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Matt. Two things to comment on. One is the visit by the governor was very nice. I think the employees really appreciated it, and he was very positive about what they've done and what the CRDA's done, and I think that's good. And I think it's a boost and sort of an uplift for everybody. The second thing is I want to comment on the police, community policing. This is something we've been working on with them for 2 or 3 years. It's come to fruition. We were happy to put up the money so that it could happen, and I think it's going to make a significant difference given the fact that we also added another 25 or 4 Class 2s to the 45 we have. This is going to make a difference in where we are. Before we go into today, one of our board members, Frank Spencer, has resigned due to an increase in his job responsibilities and promotion. So with the board's permission, we'll do an appropriate resolution, and I'll make sure that it's forwarded to him. So if I could have a yes.
Second.
Move second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. We have several things on the agenda today. I'd like to make a couple of comments before we start, because I think today's agenda reflects the 3 pillars of the focus mission of the CRDA, which is development, social needs, and entertainment. Our agenda today will build on the EDS and MED strategy for urban revitalization as we assess preliminary approval for the next phase of Stockton University, invest in our core properties, the Convention Center and Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall, which allows us to continue to attract world-class events, and 3, support community concerts at Gardners Basin and community events in the Kentucky Avenue Renaissance Festival. Sponsor one of the East Coast signature events at Chamber of Commerce Airshow, and rehabilitate the Sense at Liberty Apartments, a critical investment in Atlantic City housing needs which goes along with what Matt has just said about the rehabilitation of apartments that we have, so it's all part of a strategy that's going on. So with that, I'll proceed to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is under land use regulation and enforcement, and has to do with Atlantic City development. I'm going to ask the vice chairman to handle it. I'm going to recuse myself from it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Yes. Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority granting preliminary and final site plan approval to construct a 6-story dormitory for Stockton University students consisting of 105 units with 405 beds on the property located at 3504, 3506, and 3532 Atlantic Avenue in the city of Atlantic City, block 186, lots 5 through 9, the Gateway redevelopment area under application 2019-04-2638.
Thank you, Lisa. We have one recusal. Are there any others? Seeing none. Matt, can you give us a description?
Yes, sir. A public hearing was conducted on the application on April 18, 2019. And based on the evidence and testimony provided as outlined in the hearing officer report, the preliminary and final site plan can be approved based on the testimony provided by the applicant and his professionals and based on solid land use planning and engineering testimony. The hearing officer has recommended that the preliminary and final site plan be approved without variances and that the plan is consistent with the Tourism District land use regulations and master plan.
Thank you. Board discussion. Public comment. Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Motion, Mr. Hill, second, Mr. Kyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Somebody could just vote. All done. Back to you, Mr. Chairman. I salvaged the,
I never had any doubts. The next item on the agenda is the Showboat Renaissance Boardwalk Hall, Block 61, lots 22 to 26, Block 134. It's a minor subdivision approval with variance relief. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority granting minor subdivision approval with variance relief to realign property lines and consolidate 5 existing lots into 3 lots to accomplish future conveyance and financing of existing improvements on properties located at 801 Boardwalk in the city of Atlantic City, block 61, lots 22 through 26, block 134, lot 1, and block 302, lots 1 through 2, under application 2019-04-2637.
Matt, do you want to comment on this?
Sure, this one's a little more involved than the previous one. The applicant does require variances, a total of 6 variances. The applicant provided testimony and also qualified experts in the field of professional land use and professional planning. I described the location of this site, existing towers and layout. The Director of Planning for Atlantic City, Barbara Ann Woolley-Dillon, did appear and spoke in support of the application. Public hearing was conducted on the application on May 2nd, 2019, and based on the evidence and testimony provided as outlined in the hearing officer report, the preliminary and final site plan can be approved based on the testimony provided by the applicant and his professionals and based on solid land use planning and engineering testimony. The hearing officer has recommended that the preliminary and final site plan be approved, and it is consistent land use regulations and master plan.
Thank you, Matt. Board discussion. Public comment. Seeing none, I'll accept the motion to approve the variance.
Motion.
Moved by Mr. Tolson, seconded by Mr. Mullen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so ordered. Now we go to other action items by the board. The first one relates to tourism market expansion. It's an approval of an amendment to the tourism market expansion project, including a supplemental fund reservation in the amount not to exceed $25,600 and authorization to enter into agreement with Polaris Development Corporation to present the 8th Annual Kentucky Avenue Renaissance Festival. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority establishing a supplemental fund reservation in an amount not to exceed $25,600 from the Tourism District and Community Development Fund and amending the tourism market expansion project to support the Kentucky Avenue Renaissance Festival.
This is a free public festival for the community. It's on August 10th from noon till 8 p.m. The total budget is $51,000. We're contributing $26,500. There are guest performers, exhibits, food, vendors, activities for children and the entire family. Board discussion.
Just one
Go
correction
ahead.
on the, it's 25.6, not 26.5, just to make sure.
25? Wait a minute, here's what it says, 26,500.
25.6.
You're right, his,
Mr. Chairman?
It's right here too. Oh, it's two places different.
yeah,
A little misprint here on my sheet here. Sorry about that, it's 26,500.
25,600.
Apologize.
I make a motion for the appropriate amount.
Let the record show it's 25,600.
Second.
Any other comment from the board? Public comment? Yes.
Steve Young, on behalf of Polaris Development Group and the community, we want to thank you in advance of your vote for the corrected amount.
you'd have taken the higher one though, wouldn't you?
Any other public comment? Thank you for what you're doing on Kentucky Avenue. Seeing none, accept the motion to
Motion.
approve.
Second.
Moved, second, and any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Next item on the agenda is Tourism Market Expansion Project. Approval of amendment to the Tourism Market Expansion Project, a supplemental fund reservation in an amount not to exceed $152,850, and authorization to enter into a grant agreement with the Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce to present the 2019 Atlantic City Airshow. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority establishing a supplemental fund reservation in an amount not to exceed $152,850 from the Tourism District and Community Development Fund and amending the tourism market expansion project to support the 2019 Atlantic City Airshow.
That's right. Any recusals? This is a big deal. Everybody knows about the air show. It draws more than 400,000 people to Atlantic City. It's become a multi-day celebration. It's been extended to that. There's $45 million in economic impact and $1.9 million in state and local tax, and $900,000 in luxury tax alone. Public, board discussion, anybody want to comment on it?
Good stuff.
Public comment.
Mr. Chairman, just wanted to thank CRDAs for the time, Matt and Larry. We spent a lot of time talking about this proposal and presentation and how we could expand the event and make it better and kind of emphasize on something that already brings a great strength to the area. So thank you all for your time and consideration with the event. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
You identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Michael Chait, Executive Vice President, Greater Atlantic City Chamber. Thank you.
Any other, yes?
For the music, Mike Lopez, resident. For the music, Kentucky Avenue, Gardners Basin, we'll be doing one also at Ducktown Arts and Music Festival. I think it's awesome. I think we all need to put the A in the STEM and include the arts in Atlantic City. So I think it's awesome. Thanks.
Well, certainly this helps drive the tourism market and under frankly so challenging circumstances since the end of the Atlantic City Alliance, CRDA has stepped in here to try and do as much of this as we can, and I think we've done a good job. And I also think that it grows our relationship with the Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce as they work to extend the successful air show that brings so many people to Atlantic City. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to approve the reservation of money.
Motion.
Been moved by Mr. Mullin, second. Seconded by Mr. Tolson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The next item on the agenda is tourism market expansion project with an amendment to the expansion project in the supplemental fund reservation, an amount not to exceed $149,986 to negotiate and execute a tri-party agreement with the National R&B Music Society, the City of Atlantic City, to present the 2019 free summer concerts at Gardners Basin. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority establishing a supplemental fund reservation in an amount not to exceed $149,986 from the Tourism District and Community Development Fund, and amending the tourism market expansion project to support the 2019 summer concert series at Gardners Basin.
Anybody who need to be recused? As you can tell, music has become an essential piece of the cultural tourism fabric of this resort. This will be a summer of music in Atlantic City, courtesy of the CRDA, from the boardwalk to the beach at Gardners Basin. Matt, you want to comment on this since you worked this out with the mayor?
Yeah, this was something that was requested by the city. Some of the bands that are looking to come play are the New Stylistics, the Delphonics, and the Ladies of Sky, with 2 eyes.
You know all them?
I got all their 8 tracks. And you know, it was a pleasure working with the city on putting this together. This is 100% funded by CRDA. In the past, when these were put on, it was a joint collaboration between the CRDA and the library as well. Today, the library does not have the funding for something like this. But it's nice to bring this. These are good community events, not going to be very large, 2,000, 3,000 people events, but they're all-day festivities as well.
I also wanted to chime in and say, thank you, Matt, thank you, the board. This is something that the community has been actually advocating for since it stopped some 4 years ago. I think that this is money well spent. I also believe that Bill Mullen should be looking to MC the event.
Do that with Mark's help. The stylistics, Mark will be recruiting some of them for the showroom.
But on a serious note, this is something that the community cherishes, and we're happy that we were able to basically bring it back. Thank you.
We heard, Billy, you and Eddie are going to be in the front row.
That's it, we probably will be.
Dancing. Mr. Chairman, just an overview here. With the total expenditures on free concerts, are we close to $1 million this year for concerts, which is all good stuff? But
If you add in what we're doing at Kennedy Plaza 7 nights a week, yeah, we're probably in excess of that.
Yeah, maybe for the next meeting, we just get a review of just, because the total's getting pretty significant. We hear that we don't consider the other part of the city, and this is all stuff that's heading towards being in both the tourism district and being part of providing to the residents, correct? So I just, maybe we could have a review of that for the next meeting.
We will. Other board discussion? Seeing none, public comment? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Stuart Bascom. I'm a trustee on the board of the National R&B Music Society, and I would just like to thank CRDA in advance for their approval of this measure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Other comments from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Hill, is there a second? Seconded by Mark. Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Next item on the agenda is promotional merchandise authorization to enter into an agreement with Quality Concepts Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $121,151 for the procurement of CRDA and DOAC promotional merchandise. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority awarding a 1-year contract in an amount not to exceed $121,151 to Quality Concepts Incorporated for the purchase of promotional merchandise to support the authority's marketing and promotion of Atlantic City through May 31st, 2020.
Matt?
This is a contract not to exceed for promotional products. This really falls under Larry's group as far as new branding. Some of the stuff we have now is getting a little old and tired, like me, and it's about time we refresh it and get some some new attire. I will tell you, through this process, our Vice Chairman, Rich Tolson, brought up an important point about buying American-made products. And through research, we did find that there's an existing executive order still standing from from Governor Jim McGreevey that requires authorities like us to first purchase American before purchasing from anywhere else. So we're going to implement that fully. I appreciate the Vice Chair for bringing that to our attention.
My DNA.
Any further discussion?
Just one quick question, Mr. Chairman. How is this material distributed?
I'm sorry?
How is this material distributed?
Variety of events that we host.
Consumer trade shows.
Yeah, trade shows. So, this past winter, Larry and Karen have done more road trips up into Canada, Philadelphia, New York, in an effort to do more outbound promotion. It really hasn't been done in the last few years. So they take items like this, free giveaways, tchotchke stuff.
Yeah, tchotchkes, like coffee cups, T-shirts, whatever.
I was just looking at the list of them.
But we're also gonna make sure every board member gets a nice fleece with their name on it.
We're not allowed to take gifts.
No, under
That's right,
$10 or something.
I don't take it.
Board discussion. Public comment. Yes, sir.
Yeah, will that bid go out to, will go out to bid the American-made products?
So the contract for this went out to bid. Now we have the lowest bidder. From him, we're gonna require that he only sell us the American-made products. The only caveat could be if you want a product that's not made in the US. I mean, most products are made abroad, and there's less and less retail manufacturers or apparel manufacturers are still made in the US. But those are gonna be our primary go-to.
And if I could clarify my position on this, it's not a protectionist position. It is one that labor isn't being abused in foreign countries to the benefit of us or any other authority. It's a workers' rights issue for me.
Yes, Joe.
I would like to comment. I'm somewhat of a protectionist, but I understand your point. I'm glad that someone researched a standing law that said we should start with American, because I think we should start paying attention to what our standing laws are, and that's really it. Thank you and thank you.
Other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the expenditure. Moved by
Second.
Howard?
Mike.
Mike. Moved by Mike, seconded by Howard. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so ordered. The next item on the agenda is architectural services. Approval of Spectra Venue Management's award of a contract to Sasha Architects of Atlantic City in amount not to exceed $2 million for architectural services at Jim Whalen Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center as an as-needed basis. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving Spectre Venue Management's award of a professional services agreement for architectural services on an as-needed basis for a 2-year period to Sykes O'Connor Salerno Hazava, PA, for general capital maintenance for architectural services, at Boardwalk Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center.
My understanding is in the resolution, it also says that these have to be for capital items that the board will approve. Is that correct? Is that correct, Paul?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
So I wanted the board to be assured of that, that before these projects go forth, they'll come back to the board on a specific basis. Any recusals? Description, Matt, you want to?
Just I think it's important to note that the bid process was publicly advertised in the AC Press and the Courier Post on February 28th, 2019, and March 1st, 2019, and on boardwalkhall.com from February 28th through March 29th, 2019. Spectra Venue Management received one bid, and it was deemed responsive, and that was from Sarsh Architects.
Sasha's currently in Our as-needed pool has a history of working in both facilities at competitive rates and is responsive as needed. Board discussion.
Just one comment, Mr. Chairman. I don't think there's anybody in the architectural field that is more familiar with Boardwalk Hall than Sasha Architects.
That's correct. Any other comments from board members? Hearing none, any public comment? Yes, sir.
Yeah, with Boardwalk Hall and your money where it's going, the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority, Vicky Goldlevy, what she's doing over there with the Atlantic City experience at Boardwalk Hall, and it's not completed, is amazing. So, and with the bathrooms and the restrooms, what's going on, again, just applaud it. It just continue. It's good stuff. Can't wait to get through there.
Could I also make a plug for our arena football team?
Yeah, yeah.
2-2.
2-0 at home.
2-2. Other public comment? Hearing none, a motion, I'll accept the motion to adopt.
Moved.
Moved by Howard, seconded by Jim. No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The next item on the agenda is MEP Engineering Services. Approval of Spectra Venue Management's award of a contract to Concord Engineering Group Incorporated and Remington and Vernick Engineers for MEP Engineering Services in an aggregate amount not to exceed $1.5 million for engineering services at Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center on an as-needed basis. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving Spectra Venue Management's award of a professional services agreement for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, engineering services on an as-needed basis for a 2-year period to Remington Vernick and Engineers and Concord Engineering Group Incorporated for general capital maintenance at Boardwalk Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center.
Thank you, Lisa. As indicated before in the last bit, as Matt said, we did the appropriate advertising and all of the items. Both companies are currently in our Spectra's as-needed pool. Both have a history of working in Boardwalk Hall and the Convention Center and have been responsive to all as-needed requests for pricing and project development. Board discussion.
I just wanted to.
Maureen?
I wanted to thank the staff. When we discussed this in committee, I had some questions as to when you have multiple vendors, how you were getting at a competitive process, and some descriptive language was included to these various professional services memos, so I appreciate that.
And they responded.
Yes, they did. It's included so that we know that on a per-project basis, they'll go out to whomever has
Right.
been hired under the task order in order to make sure that
Excellent
they're bidding
question.
against each other. Thank you.
Other comments or questions from board members? Public comment? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the reservation.
Move it. Second.
Moved by Mr. Mullen, seconded by Jim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. The next item is sort of similar, it's roofing services. Approval of Spectra Venue Management's award of a contract to Thomas and Company Incorporated for roofing contractor services in an amount not to exceed $1.5 million for roofing services at Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center on an as-needed basis. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving a services agreement for roofing services on an as-needed basis for a 2-year period to Thomas Company Incorporated for general maintenance at Boardwalk Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center.
Okay, I might add, all these resolutions contain the same language, that if they're on major projects in the capital budget, they'll come back here. Any recusals? Matt, you wanna do this?
Sort of just like before, the bid process was public advertising. AC Press and the Courier Post on February 28, 2019, and March 1, 2019, and on boardwalkhall.com on from February 28th through March 29th of 2019. Spectra Venue Management received a total of 4 bids, of which 1 was deemed responsive, and that's Thomas Company, Inc. of Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey.
Okay. Board discussion. Public comment. Motion to adopt.
Moved.
Moved by Howard. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mullen. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The next item on the agenda is a visitor profile study. Approval of a fund reservation in an amount not to exceed $58,000. I'm sorry, did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a page here. Electrical Services, approval of Spectra Venue Management's award of a contract to Calvi Electric and Hughes Electric Company in an aggregate amount not to exceed $3 million for electrical services at Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall, the Atlantic City Convention Center on an as-needed basis. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving a professional services agreement for licensed electrical services on an as-needed basis for a 2-year period to Calvi Electric Company and Hughes Electric Company LLC for general maintenance at Boardwalk Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center.
As you can tell, and if you remember 2 or 3 meetings before, we had a resolution approving a significant amount of money for improvements to these 2 facilities. I think it was around $20 million. Each of the items that are on that capital budget list will then come back here, and this is why we have these contractors on an as-needed basis, and so that we're ready to go when we make a decision on the process. Calvi is currently in our as-needed pool. They have a history of working at Boardwalk Hall and the Convention Center, as has Hughes Electric. Both have been responsive and competitive rates in their schedule. And it should be noted that Hughes Electric is the current electrical as needed for the authority. Board discussion. Public comment. A motion to approve.
Motion.
Moved by the mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mo. Hearing or seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Next is General Contractor Services approval of Spectra Venue Management's award of a contract to KHS&S Contractor Incorporated, Warner Construction Incorporated, Massett Building Company, and TN Ward Company in an aggregate amount not to exceed $2.5 million for general contractor services at Jim Whalen Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center on an as-needed basis. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving a services agreement for general contractor services on an as-needed basis for a 2-year period to KHS&S Contractors Incorporated, Massett Building Company, TN Ward Company, and Warren Construction Incorporated for general maintenance at Boardwalk Hall and the Atlantic City Convention Center.
All right, any recusals? Matt, is there anything you want to say in this?
No, it's very similar to the other proposals, the other as-needed services. In this case, the bid process was public advertised, Press of AC and Courier Post on February 28th and March 1 of 2019, and Boardwalk Hall from February 28th to March 29th, 2019. Spectra Venue received proposals from KHS&S Pleasantville, Warner's Construction, Massett Building, TN Ward, Gassis Brothers, which was deemed non-responsive last month. So KHS&S, Warner's, and TN Ward are currently in Spectra Venue Management's as-needed pool. They have a history of work in both the Convention Center and Boardwalk Hall, and they have been responsive to all as-needed requests for pricing and project development.
Board discussion. Public comment. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Moved by Mr. Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Howard seconded. Any hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved, so ordered. Now we get to the page that I missed. 2019 Visitor Profile Study, approval of fund resolution amount not to exceed $58,000, and authorization to enter into a funding agreement with Stockton University to conduct the 2019 Visitor Profile Study. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving a fund reservation in an amount not to exceed $58,000 from the Atlantic City Tourism District and Community Development Fund or from residual luxury tax revenues, and a service agreement with Stockton University's Lloyd D. Levinson Institute of Gaming, Hospitality, and Tourism to conduct a visitor profile study.
I have to excuse myself, Mr.
Okay, it's, the last full study was done in 2008. We have various intercept locations in the city throughout the summer and the fall. This is an attempt for us to understand what our visitors want, need, and expect. We want to know where the visitors go, to learn more about how they consider their travel plans, and how we can better craft a marketing message and get a message in front of visitors. Matt, is there anything you want to add to that?
Nope, that was perfect.
Board discussion. Gary?
Mr. Chairman, obviously, it's a well-needed survey, and it's going to be interesting to see 10 years what has changed, so hopefully for the positive. Just curiously, when we get the profile back, the study, who here will be responsible for looking at it, analyzing it? Would it be Larry's department, or?
Larry.
Yes.
Yeah, Larry will present it to the board.
Or then you give us like every half the summary? Okay, thank you.
Other comments from the board? Maureen?
It strikes me this might be useful to align it with the geo-targeting contract that we're engaged in.
Other comments? Public comment? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the expenditure.
Move it.
It's been moved by the mayor. Is there a second? Seconded by Rich. Seeing or hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The next item on the agenda is a project approval and fund reservation for the Sense at Liberty Apartments Rehabilitation Project. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving a fund reservation in an amount not to exceed $4.45 million from the Atlantic City Housing Fund and granting project approval to the Sense at Liberty Apartments project.
Mayor, I want to compliment you and add that you've helped to educate us on how important this investment is to families in Atlantic City. Decent housing should never be a luxury, and that the CRDA has taken, I think, pretty big strides in recent times with our commitment to the healthcare services, and now today committing to much-needed housing rehabilitation. Matt, you or Mayor want to say anything about this? I think you've worked pretty hard to get this done.
Defer to the mayor.
Just, again, I want to show great gratitude to CRDA for working with the city in areas that it's not particularly in the tourism district, but also showing the commitment to helping out residents of Atlantic City. The Syncta project is something that we feel that's very important for the quality of life. We've also been able to identify these entities as historic buildings, and preserving those, the history of those buildings are very important, which also spun into particularly creating a historic district. So again, I would like to give my gratitude towards this board. Also centered in their infinite wisdom to basically come to Atlantic City to help reestablish some of the low-income housing. And again, this is a great way to show that CRDA, the City of Atlantic City, is working in contention.
Thank you, Mayor. I think there are two things we need to note here. This is three multifamily buildings that total 153 units. Secondly, the property is determined to be historical, as the mayor has said, based on their place in the city's African-American history. And I think the third point is the project addresses concerns of the Johnson Report in several areas, including neighborhood blight, public health and safety, more demand for rental and owner-occupied, and quality of life improvements, as well as improvements to increase tax ratables. All of these properties were converted to apartments 40 years ago, but they suffer from tremendous neglect and poor maintenance. The total budget of $39,653,789, of which CRDA is making a loan of $4.45 million. Wind Development will retain ownership after renovations are completed, which is important. and rents will remain at the current level. There was a public hearing on January 18th. There was no opposition. The city passed a resolution in support of the project. Comment from any other board members?
I have one comment.
Go ahead.
Also too, that for a company to come into Atlantic City and also commit to the union is also a sediment of why we want to basically partner with entities like this, because it also presents opportunities for young individuals in Atlantic City to become apprentices, and that's a great way to come into a community to engage younger people into a career more so than others have come into the town and really have taken, but you guys coming in and willing to give some, so we appreciate that.
Other board discussion?
I
Maureen.
just want to say it looks like a tremendous project that I'm in support of, and certainly with the history and how it will be taken back, we all look forward to that and look forward to working with the city on that. Just a question though, although it appears to be structured as a loan, when you look at the backup for Housing Mortgage Finance Agency, it's not clear how it's going to be secured. Will it be secured by a mortgage, or is it,
It's part of a capital stack where it is, it sits in a position where it'd be a cash flow based repayment.
so it could be forgivable if the cash flow doesn't support it?
If the cash flow doesn't flow, it's a grant.
Right.
That's
That's what I
exactly what it
thought, so
is.
to be clear.
Other comments from the board? Public comment? Hearing none, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Brett Berengoff, Senior Vice President, Wind Development Company. I just want to thank everyone, the entire board, CRDA, Matt and his team, Mayor Gilliam. We've come a long way. This is a tremendous milestone. We're going to help hundreds of residents of the city, so thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and thank you for coming here, and I know that you're a national company, and it's important that you come here with the backing that you have to do this project, so we know it's gonna be handled. You're gonna continue to own it, which makes it even that better, much better, so that things get done. Other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to,
I'll make the motion.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Rob's made the motion, is there a second?
Yes.
Mayor's made, seconded. Any further comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. That ends the business for the meeting. We next come to the public comment section of the meeting. Any member of the public wishes to address their name and your comment or question? Yes, sir.
Yes, Charles Goodman, Atlantic City, New Jersey. First of all, I listened to all the projects. Everybody here is intelligent and worthy projects that affect our city. By the way, Mr. Doherty, it was a nice program this morning, another positive. But I come to speak for those that unfortunately don't have lawyers to speak for them, our youth of Atlantic City. You give them all single projects to money and that benefit the city. I get it, and I'm appreciative of it as anyone else is. But our youth, we have a situation this summer. The city had money for 60 jobs. That's a disgrace for our youth. We have a stack. You go in there, room 502 in the city hall, our youth services. They have a stack like this of applications for jobs. Only 60 that they had. And they went by, the approval was specific to report cards and specific to interview. And it's 60. So I went up there last week. They had another stack, close to 100. The grades were all good. They had a stack that wasn't, and we can debate whether the grades should be makes the child worthy of a summer job. But we're talking about $1,500 a student. We can't get 20, 30 more jobs for those that are deserving because they did well in school. Come on, $1,500 a student, 20 students, come on. I mean, that's ridiculous. And this thing lasts because I know as a young person, I worked in the summer, and you know how proud it was at the end of August to go get your school clothes and to buy your school clothes of your own. That I had money in my pocket. And today's market to look, and nobody has to go steal or take. And these are worthy students. Come on, guys. 60 jobs for the whole summer youth. That's a disgrace. And this is not to Creta. This is to my friend, the mayor, for the city. And I know they're controlled by my friend, Mr. Long, the state. But everybody should pitch in. So I'm asking Creta to pitch in a minimum of 20 more jobs. You do the math, 1,500 a student, if they work every day of that summer period. So I'd appreciate, and I'm asking the members to come up with something.
Other comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Can I agree?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Tim Cunningham with Archer and Griner. I represent Wind Development.
Yes.
You made a comment earlier about how hard the creative professional team worked on this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the board, from the executive director to the deputy executive director, land use, finance. Council got on a call with us at 9:30 one night to work through the parameters of the deal. So real credit to public service and very much appreciated.
I thank you very much for that. A lot of times people don't understand how hard people work that are in the public sector, and the sense of responsibility they feel to get the job done. And it's important, and I thank you for the comment. Jeff?
Firstly, I'd like to agree, but I'm not going to belabor that. I want to talk about three different things. One of the problems in Atlantic City is you have to do well before we can do good. There's not enough money to go around. We all know that. It came to my attention yesterday, and I did not realize it, but June 15th is International Surfing Day. I want to talk about the surfing market for a minute. It's over 100 years ago, about 103, 104, and I didn't have time to research it, but Duke Kahanamoku, who has a statue in Hawaii, and was Hawaiian royalty and an Olympic medalist at the turn of what would have been the 20th century, when the Olympics were big because there was no diversion. The modern games started in 1896. He had the first surfboard demonstration on the East Coast off our beaches on States Avenue. We can build a festival around that. I don't know anything about surfing. I grew up on the bay. I was a sailor, I was a skier, I was a swimmer before I was fat. And the point is, I know my kid required thousands of dollars for surfing lessons, for surfboards, for surfing trips to Costa Rica and Hawaii before he was out of high school. There's money to be made, and I think that's something we can concentrate on. Second thing, totally unrelated. Last year, this body gave to the Garden State Equality the ability to branch into Atlantic City what was an equality march. And the Equality March marched down our boardwalk last year. I know Larry was there. And the idea is to grow this to 3. Now, Garden State Equality has a mailing list of $152,000. And we have some tremendous civil rights history here in Atlantic City. John told me he was once working at Val's Bar when they closed it down in 1966 on New York Avenue. It was closed because homosexuals were congregating. It was a different civil rights movement. But in 1967, those homosexuals won the right to congregate in the New Jersey Supreme Court. We can trade off that. I have suggested to 2 of our supporters, to Vince Mazzio and John Armada, that next year we have a grand wedding, like we can do a group wedding or a group renewal of vows. The gays haven't gotten around to divorcing yet. They're still getting married. And it's something that we can make money off. The marriage equality struggle started in 1970 in Hawaii. It was a court case with 2 lesbians. Third thing, I would really like to see a meeting or 2 or every one of this board meet at night a couple times a year, whatever. Thank you.
Other comments from the public? Yes.
Mike Lopez, just with my friend Charles here, with the jobs, I can't give any jobs, but I will put it towards the board like he just did. I have a SOAR instructor, Security Officers Registration Certification instructor's cert. I'll waive my fee of $150 for 10 of his children. They have to get their fingerprints and the application fee from the state police. So, I mean, but I think what he does is well, and CRDA, so maybe you can work something out.
I think that the first problem is we don't have summer jobs at CRDA.
Right.
No, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I wasn't asking for jobs from you. I was asking you to fund. The mechanism is already in place for the job. The applications were stacked, but they had a cap of 60 that they could give jobs to.
And we could afford.
That's what I said, that you could afford. Well, that's, the cap is because you have. Obviously, we wanted the cap to be a little bit more. We have over 300 applications for 60 jobs. I guess that's the best way to say it.
I understand, and we don't have any requests before us for that.
Well, what's the necessary request that has to happen?
Yeah, I think you raised it. I misunderstood you at first. It wasn't clear. I didn't realize it was a financial issue that created
With the
the
city,
cap at 60.
right, exactly.
All right, so there's only 60 because that's all there's
Right.
funding for.
Right.
So what you're suggesting is additional funding so more jobs can be created.
Exactly. They have the
Yeah.
applications, they've been vetted, they've been interviewed.
My question is, Mayor, how many jobs can you use?
We have to vet that. Because the city of Atlantic City can employ all 300. We were able to actually fit 65 within our parameter. Maybe if, again, a part of Jim Johnson's report is to have other entities step up to actually give openings and opportunities for these young folks, but at the same time, there's still no finances to support that.
If I could go further on that, just, and may be able to answer your question before you ask. And sitting today and being part of the Atlantic City Executive Council, and the mayor just
Right.
reminded me of Jim Johnson's report, the action plan, the implementation plan that I would imagine you've been at meetings to
Right.
see, incorporates a number of different entities to provide internships and job opportunities. It's a work in progress. It's an issue that you raised that's valid, that will drive a conversation of not only what we do this summer, but what we do every summer,
Right.
to create job opportunities for the youth of Atlantic City.
Just so you don't know, that question that you asked about opportunities, I asked that because I knew it was going to be. There's 17 more jobs that easily, 17 more persons that could easily be placed in jobs that were available. But again, because of the cap, they're not there. She has a stack with, I'm going to tell you what she said. Charlie, if you can just get funding for these.
I didn't know you were employed for the city of Atlantic City.
Excuse me?
I didn't know you were employed for the city of Atlantic City.
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with it because
But what I think that we'll be able to do is get back to the table, find out what's available in-house, and then we'll basically have a conversation with this board. And if there's any way that we can basically find finances for these individuals, I most certainly think that we'll be able to do that. But to actually come to this body to make it appear that there's not any collaboration between folks in trying to make opportunities.
I didn't do that.
Yes, you're right, Mayor.
Just let me speak for a
Absolutely
second.
right.
But this body has been very open, we've been very open. I think that at the end of the day, we'll find a way to actually find other opportunities. I know that, again, the report stated that we wanted to do more for youth. I think that it moved a little quicker than what we anticipated because we have more folks in need of jobs than people stepping up to give opportunities. So even if we found something to do with the 17, we still would like to be able to do something with the 250, 60 plus. But the key point is that we're going to find a way to actually improve quality of life for these young folks that are hungry for employment, because again, it does not fit well in my wheelhouse to have 300 applications that we can't afford. That shows a great need of folks, young people that want to work, which speaks to Rich's point that we should basically, when we do this, it shouldn't be a one-hit wonder. It should be a way of laying out for a multiple-year process. So again, we're going to sit back and figure out ways to basically make a formal program, not just taking care of 17 this year. We want to make sure all youth in Atlantic City have an opportunity to work when it's time to work.
I get that, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. That was not my intent at all. If you can remember, I don't know if you was at the last council meeting, I also brought it to council, and I didn't get any reaction at this past council meeting that happened. So my intent is never to show somebody out. My intent is to fill the need, and the need is for some extra jobs. I don't care if it was 5 jobs. That's 5 more students that have an opportunity to work during the summer that wasn't. So
I think this board is very sensitive to your request. I think that certainly we have as much interested in the youth of the city as anybody else, and I think it's something that we need to talk about and go forth. And I'm certainly open to what the board wishes to do here. Rich?
I think that process is in place, as I tried to describe, not only for jobs, but for recreation as well.
Right.
And Matt sits with me on the executive council, and Rob's there. So the entities are all engaged on solving these issues, and it's taking place, and probably not fast enough for all of us, but it is certainly a process that's
Moving in the right
it's
direction.
moving in the right direction. Thank you.
And again, for the casino side of the house, I don't know what the age of the youth is. I guess they're still under the age of 18, you know,
Yes.
from what I've heard. But there is no doubt that the seasonality of the business in the casino industry, the number of people coming in to seek employment for the season, the summer season, increases substantially, and jobs are being filled regularly as we come up to the start of the summer season here with the Memorial Day weekend. So many, many, many unfilled positions, and many that don't require significant skill set, you know. So for those who are 18, let's say, or possibly even 17, there's opportunities in some entry-level summer type jobs in the casino industry, and I'm sure that these groups are working with the casino industry and filling their vacancies. But there's no doubt that there's plenty of vacancies in the casino industry still. It's a little more difficult when you're dealing with youngsters who are
14 to 17, by the way.
That's a hard
Yes.
that's a hard step in the casino industry. So there are opportunities, and you know, I realize the unemployment rate in Atlantic City is higher than the national average, but there are many people from outside the city, from Atlantic County, coming into Atlantic City for the season and finding jobs. Okay?
Other comments from the public? Yes, sir.
There's a question. Tom Bambrick, business agent for the State Channels Local 77. I was wondering, does CRDA plan on putting any more money towards the larger concerts that we have on a yearly basis after June?
We have no other concerts planned for this year.
You have none this year?
No.
Have it in the future for next year, and you still
That's
plan on
something
putting on
the
those
board would
larger
have
ones?
to decide.
Excuse me?
That's something the board would have to decide. We have no contract for next year yet.
Okay.
Other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'd like to close the public comment section. This board will go into executive session for a very short period of time. I do not expect any action to come out of the meeting, so, but we will reopen it in case you want to hang around, but I don't expect any action, and I've always been honest about that. So, with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn the public portion of the meeting.
Make the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Next, I'll accept the motion.